These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Yeah, it happened kind of, I don't know, earlier on in camp, and I was just trying to battle through it. Just wasn't getting better, so it took some time to get it right, and I think I'm approaching that point.
Something where you're dealing with setbacks, or has it been kind of the same?
I don't think I had necessarily a setback. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to be ready by the beginning of the season. So when I practiced a couple weeks ago and then didn't practice the next day, I think that was just me trying to test to see where I was. And at that point, I wasn't necessarily ready to get back on the field just quite yet.
Two observations off that Anthony Barr clip. Number one, he is a massive human. Oh my God!
Huge.
We've known that for years, but my God, that man is massive. And two, when did setback become such a sticking point word or term in sports? Like what? So he's hurt and he can't play, but we need to know, was it a setback?
Well,
Did you take two steps back, or?
I think it's because he returned to practice in this sense. I think he returned to practice and then he was out again, and I think that's where we're concerned there was a setback.
Okay.
This is a very curbed.
Maybe it was.
This is a very curbed discussion.
So, but if you got a sore limb of some kind, and you go and test it out, and it's still a little bit sore, and so then you don't practice it. So you practiced to test it, and it's a little bit sore, and then you don't practice the next day because it was more sore than you thought. Is it a setback?
Well, let's say you go out there though, and you feel good, and you're like, "Coach, put me in, Coach. I'm ready to play today." And you go out there and you play
center field.
And then it's like, oh no, that hurts more than it did before.
I don't know that that's a setback. I think your leg still hurts.
Oh my God.
It's a setback. I got a setback. What's a setback?
Why can't you people see that? Oh, hello, Judd's Keys to a Vikings victory. This is Mackey and Judd and Judd's Keys and executive producer Declan Goff. Daily Minnesota sports entertainment. We just want championships. All right, that's all we ask for. And firing your Pobo, and starting 0-2, and being 20 games under 500 if you're the Twins. Like, those aren't championship traits. Okay, so let's clean it up around here. Maybe Judd's Keys can help point us in the right direction.
Because Keys has to put his Surly Furious down. Just put
it's morning.
Yeah. Keys, put the Surly down, and let's get to the Keys, okay?
So This is Judd's Keys to a Vikings win over the Seahawks.
Not one, not two, not three, but 4 keys to a victory over the Seahawks. What will go into a stew to make the first game at US Bank Stadium with fans since December 29th, 2019 a success for the Minnesota Vikings. Key number 4, Seattle slew. Wow. Mike Zimmer is 0-5 against the Seahawks. But let me digress. Let me stop you right there because we all like to point that out, okay? 3 of those defeats have come by a touchdown or less, and 2 of them have come by 1 point, including the missed field goal by Blair Walsh in the 2015 playoff game at TCF Bank Stadium. The past 3 defeats have been in Seattle, and this will be the Seahawks' first trip in the regular season to US Bank Stadium. So, put it all together, and I still contend, I think the whole thing of, the Vikings are in trouble because they flat out just can't beat the Seahawks is nonsense. On the road, and again, they're coming here, and I think we have this, I think we have a revisionist history that every Zimmer loss to the Seahawks has been by 21 points. Well, they always lose to the Seahawks. They're close. They have lost a couple of games badly. But for the most part, there have been 3 very close defeats, and 2 of them have been by 1 point, including last year. Yeah. Well, keep in mind, if Madison gets the yard in the fourth quarter, 1 yard, they win. That's a wrap. So this is not the one-sided, they never win against. Okay, calm down for a second. Circumstances here are different, according to Keys.
I agree with Keys here. I think it's kind of amazing how the schedule is shaken out. And I know the main loss during this stretch was a playoff loss at home when it was 20 below zero, and Blair Walsh just apparently couldn't get his limbs to work right. I think the 2 most noteworthy losses are probably that one, and then as the Vikings were clawing their way back, the Alex Madison, find the right hole next time. So I think they're going to win this game, and we'll talk more about this. We're going to get Lindsay Whalen on the show, get her prediction as well, and we'll do purple props this weekend on Purple Daily. But I'm just going to flat out say I think the Vikings are going to beat the Seahawks this weekend. I think playing at home matters huge in this series, and just the Vikings haven't played in front of 70,000 screaming fans in 2 years, and I don't know, maybe people forgot what it's like to come in as a road opponent. There's been a lot of really good quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, that have looked like garbage in that stadium. And I don't think Russell Wilson's going to look like garbage. I think this is probably going to be a high-scoring game, but I think the Vikings ride the momentum of getting to play a home game against Seattle.
Silent count, though? Silent count? You go to silent count? That affects things.
Yeah, it matters.
All right, key number 3, don't pass on play action.
I see what Keys did there.
Thank you very much. Keys is very, very proud there. He's like, it's subtle. I said, Keys, it might be too subtle. He's like, no, we got to go with it. I said, that's fine. Just put down the beer. Yeah. The Vikings only used, and we talked about this on the Monday and Tuesday show, I think, only used play action 9 times against the Cardinals and have definitely gone away from it a bit from how much they used it last year on a per-game basis, as we talked about. In the transition from Gary Kubiak, the OC last year, to his son Clint, who is the OC this year. So 17, I've got it as 17 uses of play action in the first 2 weeks. And the first week made more sense because of the fact that the Vikings were in a lot of second and long, third and long. On Sunday, they flat out used it at times, and it worked great. And they could have used it more. Now, there's 2 things to this that might be that one might be a problem and one might not be. If Dalvin Cook can play, and he has not practiced this week, which is not the end of the world for a running back with an ankle injury, but it also, I would be hesitant to say he's going to play for sure. But if he can play, even hobbled, the thing is, play action works even if he doesn't touch the football. The threat of Cook is what is the necessary thing. So it's not like he doesn't have to carry 25 times. Threatening to hand the ball off to Cook will suck the defense up, as we like to say in football, and it will freeze the defense, okay? So we got 9 routes, we got skinny posts, we got slants, all types of opportunities. But this is dependent on if Dalvin Cook plays, and he has not practiced yet. I don't think that means he won't play, but I'm not going to say for sure. I do have a little bit of trepidation there.
I think they're going to run him out there. You know, Mike Zimmer at his Wednesday press conference was saying, you know, hey, he got banged up. We'll see what happens. You know, we'll run him out there, and we're not going to baby him if he's active. My guess is they just told him, hey man, lay low. He'll probably be limited today in like the walkthrough portion of the Friday practice.
Yep.
He'll be questionable, a game time decision, and then he'll be active. And then he probably won't get the ball 28 times. You know, like they'll probably mix in Madison. But I agree with you. I agree with Keys. The threat of play action is what matters here. And the Vikings are one of the best play action teams in the NFL. Their offensive line is better and aided when they run play action. They're not a great, just straight up. When the defense knows they're going to pass, the Vikings offensive line has a harder time holding up. They're one of the worst units in the NFL. But play action gives Kirk his most comfortable situation, gives the offensive line their most comfortable situation. So, you know, I get it. You're not, you know, the top play action teams in the NFL are running it maybe 12, 13 times a game. The Bills last year. The Vikings are more like 8, 9 times a game on average going back to last year. So it's not like there's teams running 20 play actions. They're just, you know, a play action ATM machine. You know, you can't. Although I would argue it's kind of like a pitcher throwing, you know, 6 straight changeups. You know, sometimes there's got to be some games where it might make sense to throw 15 or 20 play actions and just use Dalvin Cook.
If your protection's good, absolutely too.
So I hear you, Keys. I'm all for it. More play action. How about 3 or 4 more and a couple deep shots mixed in there and see if you can.
So you're saying 12?
Score an extra touchdown.
11 or 12?
Couple 13, 14.
Yeah. How about 12 or 13 play actions?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just remember, don't pass on play action.
Okay.
Key number 2. Pressure packed. The Vikings did a much better job in the second half of Sunday's game against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals offense. Why? Because they were able to contain Murray consistently and not allow him to scramble in his ridiculous, and he's talented, in his ridiculous fashion of basically going sideline to sideline to buy himself time. And then the coverage, obviously, at some point in time, when you do that, breaks down, right? And all of a sudden, DeAndre Hopkins is open, or Kirk, or somebody like that. So Russell Wilson is an older, smarter, probably a little bit slower now, but an older, smarter Kyler Murray. You're going to have to contain him. Do not allow him to make plays with his feet, because he will, okay? So Russell leads QBs right now, passer rating of 146.9, 6 touchdowns and no picks. It's 2 games, so it's #small sample size. But he has been sacked 6 times, which is 4th most in the league. And Seattle's offensive line is certainly improved from a couple of years back, but I still don't think it's great. You have Danielle Hunter. I think Griffin is going to be back. You have the ability to get a pass rush, and most importantly, you have the ability to contain the quarterback to give him less options. Applying that pressure and doing what you did in the second half against the Cardinals and not the first half is absolutely imperative in a loud building towards keeping Wilson under control.
Yeah. So, Keys, I have an interesting stat here. I don't know what to do with it because I don't know how to quantify this statistic against a quarterback like Kyler Murray. But ESPN.com has pass rush win rate, team pass rush win rate. So how often is your defensive line, somebody in your defensive line or extra pressure that you bring, beating the offensive line within 2.5 seconds? So it really takes away, like, you know, if there's a coverage sack, for instance, you wouldn't get credit for beating the offensive line, but you get credit for a sack. So it's really it takes everything else out of the game except for offensive line versus defensive line. How often did you get past the offensive line within 2.5 seconds? And the Vikings through 2 weeks rank 29th in the NFL in defensive pass rush win rate, 35%.
Interesting.
The best teams in the NFL, Tampa Bay, the Chargers, 63%, 62%. The Panthers in the top 10, we saw them last night. They're above 50%. But my guess is the Vikings against Kyler Murray weren't all in, like, all right, we're going to pin our ears back like we would against a more immobile quarterback.
Yep.
So I don't know how much stock I put into this number, and I don't know how much stock I'm going to put into it after this week, because their strategy might be, all right, it's going to be less about getting up the field if you're a defensive end and be more about let's keep Russ in the pocket and maybe get pressure up the middle if we can. So, but it's interesting. They're 29th in team pass rush win rate, which I know is very...
Come on! Football!
Yeah, but you're right about that, because if you shoot your shot against a guy like Wilson or Murray and you miss, you're out of the play. And then they've got more time.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think the ability to come in from the ends and simply get the contain there, because contain's important in football. We always talk about contain. Don't ever sell contain short. If you get contain, that gives them
into my veins.
Fewer. Yeah, you put that contain right in your veins. In fact, the first contain is free. After that, I'm going to have to charge you.
Hold on.
There you go. Looking's free.
Yeah. Oh, did you enjoy it? Because now it's going to cost you. I'm the football drug dispenser.
Keys, man. Before we get to the number one key, inject PXG Minneapolis into my veins.
Oh yeah, dude.
All right, inject fall golf into my veins. PXG Minneapolis is a golfer's paradise. And for those of you who think that golf season stops on Labor Day because, summer's pretty much over, like the Ryder Cup's happening, no. Golf begins when the courses start to thin out. You can pretty much golf into November.
I'm playing tomorrow. I love that these Vikings games are at 3:30. I might even squeeze a round in again on Sunday. Might get 36 holes in Saturday,
December
Sunday.
1st, you're booked?
Yeah.
It's the best. So
Christmas Day booked?
Gen 4 clubs, PXG's new 0-11 clubs. Check them out. Check out the fall apparel. PXG Minneapolis, Southdale Center, and pxg.com/Minneapolis. All right, back to keys.
All right, key number 1. I've got to wait 1 second. Put the axe man down and give me the first key.
Oh, keys is
And it's Axeman now.
Unless
It's Surly
I feel
Axeman.
like-
What's he doing?
Unless you're at brunch or an airport. I feel like 11 a.m. 11 a.m.
Yeah, but Axeman's like the night. Come on, man.
What's the earliest you guys have ever started drinking at an airport?
7:45.
Oh, that's pretty late.
7:45.
Yeah, that's very late. In fact, we had early morning flight a few years back. I believe Dawn tried to get a Bloody Mary at 5:15, and they didn't start to serve till 6. But then as soon as 6 hit,
Like what? Do they not have staff, or is it like
No,
listen,
no,
You
there
can
was a
drink
law.
until 2, and you can start drinking at 6.
There was a law.
But these 4 hours.
yes,
And
yes, there's law.
in Brother Liam's territory in North Carolina, you cannot serve alcohol, I think, anywhere on Sunday until like 11 a.m. All establishments, airport or not. So, and I've flown out at like 9:30, 10. Want a Bloody Mary, want a mimosa. Cannot serve me a drop until 11 a.m.
You know, it might be for the best. I know it's a free country. We should, we should let people live
How's
their
it for the
lives, but
best?
I'm just saying. I don't know if we need to be drinking at like 7:30.
You know what?
I'm just saying.
Airports should be fair game.
I'm paying $15
24
for
hours
that
a day.
beer.
Airports can serve booze.
Why
Give it
is
to
it
me.
that like I'm the same way at airports? I'm like, I try to show some restraint in my life. Just during the week, keep it. But if I'm at an airport, I'm like,
It's on. It's on.
Sling it, man.
Oh yeah.
There's something about an airport beverage, dude. It just
Well,
hits
some people
different.
don't like to fly, so
I hate
they're
flying.
like
It calms
scared of
the ner-
flying,
calms
and
the
it helps
nerves a little
calm
bit.
them. That might be the case with my wife. For me, I just want the damn beer. The 5:30 a.m. beer would have been super aggressive. I don't think I would do that.
I would have done it.
Now I have been up. I have been stayed up all night before and done that in reverse.
So you've been still drinking at 5:30 in the
Well,
morning.
the best was in the old days when my friend and I would go on our Chicago Cubs trip in the north side, and there was a grandfathered bar that was open till 3. So
man.
we would stay there till about 3 something, and then go get breakfast across the street. Or no,
Legendary,
I'm
man.
sorry. You know what it was? I think it might have been 5. Because it was an old
there was-
school.
yeah.
It was 5 because the sun would be coming up. That's right. And we would go pick up the Chicago Tribune and Sun-Times completely tanked and go across the street and get brunch.
You are
or
describing
breakfast.
you're describing Doogie's bachelor party for me, 2009, downtown Chicago.
Oh, God, it's great.
17 guys start out the night at Harry Carey's eating steaks. I think Randy Bush was the Cubs assistant GM, the former Twins player.
You got him something?
He was in the same building. He was at Harry Carey's.
Oh.
He heard there was a bunch of Twins fans upstairs, came up, drank with us stuff. But the herd thinned. It was, it's like 7 o'clock dinner, whatever. 17 guys. And by the end of the night, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. We're at these grandfather bars. There's 4 of us left.
They're great. I love the grandfathered bars. All right. Okay.
All right, anyway,
Key
key number one.
All
Number
right,
one.
key,
Key number one.
key number 1. He put the axe man down and finally delivered. Well, this is good. Lock it down?
Oh, wow.
Tyler Lockett is off to a fantastic start in 2 games, 12 catches, 278 yards, 3 touchdowns. And the Seahawks also have DK Metcalf, 10 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Considering the play of Bashaud Breeland and the lack of playing time for Cameron Dantzler and a pass defense that right now is ranked 26th in the National Football League, how do you suppose you're going to lock it down? And what are you going to do? Because with 2 receivers like this, I think we talked about this a couple days ago, putting like just Patrick Peterson on one guy is okay, but then the other guy, in this case probably DK Metcalf, becomes a huge threat. So your pass defense, your play, who starts at the corners, all becomes incredibly important, because the one thing is where Russell Wilson's going to be incredibly dangerous is he has 2 viable, very viable, star-like receivers, and Tyler Lockett right now is on fire.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like for a long time, the weapons weren't adequate for Russell Wilson. It's like they'd run the ball with Marshawn, and then they had a couple okay receivers. Now it's like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. That's one of the most dangerous combos. I would still take the Vikings receivers, but that's a ridiculous tandem that they have.
Yeah, do you start Dantzler? Like, I mean, Breeland's hurt, and he's been so bad that I just don't know that I can start him either.
Here's what I hate. They made a judgment throughout training camp that Bashaud Breeland was better. And Bashaud Breeland, I believe, was like among the 80 cornerbacks that qualified, from a snap standpoint last year. He was like 26th in PFF grade last year with the Chiefs. So
Yep.
then again, he was available late into free agency, like into the summer, for not much money. why didn't other teams want to throw more money at him? So I'm not saying that he was this like surefire thing when they signed him, but they decided pretty emphatically, it wasn't even like a real position battle. He was the starting cornerback. They decided he's better than Dantzler. And are they going to bail on that after 2 weeks? I don't know.
Because he's got a bad back, I think you've got an excuse to, though, don't you?
But wasn't he a full participant at Thursday's practice? I think they listed him as full. So can they even use that as an excuse anymore? I guess if Dantzler, if they determine that, all right, we were punishing Dantzler for just, whatever reason in training camp, for just sulking or whatever.
Yep.
And now he's all right, he's back to being mature or whatever. Like, just play the better player, but at the same time, why would you bail after 2 games on a guy that you thought for 6 weeks was your starting caliber corner? I don't know.
He was a full participant. I just have very, very big concerns about what we've seen so far. Okay. And I mean, look, Dantzler might not. This is just, as Keys said, number 1 key matchup. This is just a difficult matchup.
Right.
Yeah, and I think Russell Wilson probably watched a couple hours of film. Maybe 3 hours, 4 hours of film. A little more than Gronk watches. Probably sees that on film. So, all right, those are 4 keys. Judd's keys to a Vikings victory over the Seahawks. I think the thing that I am the most interested in is just if the Vikings offense can continue. Their passing game looked great in the first half last week. Yep. And I want to see them continue. I think this should be a borderline top 5 offense. You've got a third wide receiver. You got Dalvin Cook.
Absolutely.
Your offensive line is not amazing, but it's been good enough to put up pass yards and run play action. So, while the defense continues to find its way, I don't think the defense is going to pitch a shutout or anything this weekend. You have to score 30 points probably to win this game. So I just want to see the offense continue to be one of the better offensive units in the NFL.
Greg Joseph, perfect day. Greg Joseph, big confidence right now.
Are they going to run him out there for any, if it's, they're at the 38-yard line and they could kick a 55-yarder? How much confidence does Zimmer have?
A lot. The closer you get, the scarier it gets. That's the weird thing.
Which is weird.
Yeah. 53, I think he's gold.
Judd's Keys also presented by Federated Mutual Insurance Company. You want to talk about protection? Well, they protect business owners from risks. They protect your bottom line. They have all sorts of people and tools and resources that your business can tap into. So if you want to sleep better at night as a business owner, you can find out more at federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. All right, we got Lindsay Whalen coming up. We'll get a Vikings pick out of her. Purple Daily Vikings Conversations, and Vikings Vent Line. We had a record number of people listen to or watch Vikings Vent Line after that Week 2 loss to the Cardinals. So be checking it out every single Sunday, or if the Vikings play on a different day, right after the game is over, the YouTube channel, Purple Daily YouTube channel, and we're welcoming you guys into the show. So just email VikingsVentLine@gmail.com, and we'll get you in queue.